The following is a production by Lone Star Community Radio, Montgomery County's community radio station. You can support Lone Star Community Radio by donating and sponsoring programs just like this. For more information, check us out online at irlonestar.com. This segment is brought to you by
Team Sinisi is a proud sponsor of Conroe Culture News. Vinny Sinisi and his professional team provide comprehensive real estate services throughout the greater Montgomery County area and beyond. Whether looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, Team Sinisi has an impeccable reputation. Contact Team Sinisi for a great experience at teamsinisi.com. That's TEAMSINISI.com.
Since 2004, Roger Stein Chiropractic has offered spine and joint manipulation services to residents of Montgomery County and surrounding areas. Conditions treated include lower back pain, migraines, headaches, whiplash, carpal tunnel, neck pain, sciatica, joint pain, sports injuries, herniated discs, and complications from pregnancy. Roger Stein Chiropractic, led by Dr. Stacy Rogers and Dr. Brian McGee, is an integrity-verified chiropractic clinic. Call 936-441-9990 for an appointment or visit rogerssteinchiropractic.com. That's RODGERSSTEIN chiropractic.com.
You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW-LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC-LP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Hey, so how are you doing today, Brandon?
I'm doing pretty well.
So I am sitting here with Coach Brandon Crick, who's been coaching since 1998, and he's going to tell us a little bit about Junkyard Fitness and Fighting Arts and where they're located and why he's passionate about this. So, Brandon, tell me a little bit about your background.
So I got into martial arts in 1993. I was actually bullied by my cousin. And my dad got me into martial arts kind of as a bully prevention thing. I ended up loving it. Just, it became a part of who I was. I trained every single day. When I was about 16 years old, I found a new instructor who got me into kickboxing and what was called shoot fighting. And
What is shoot fighting?
So at the time, MMA was still pretty new. And shoot fighting was basically what we call catch-as-catch-can wrestling now. It's submission wrestling, so with takedowns and submissions all kind of mixed together. It was what back in the day they called Ken Shamrock. He was a shoot fighter. And so now it's kind of evolved into submission wrestling.
So what exactly is submission wrestling? I'm still not clear on this.
So submission wrestling, if you look at your typical collegiate or folk style wrestling, it's just takedowns and pins. So I'm trying to get you to the mat. I'm trying to put your shoulders on the mat. Submission wrestling is I'm trying to take you down. I'm trying to stay on top. I'm trying to make you submit with whether it be armbar, leg lock, choke, whatever.
Submission.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's kind of like jiu-jitsu, but a little more aggressive and a little more top game oriented.
So you got involved, so you wouldn't be bullied anymore. Did you have to use those tactics?
Once.
Yeah.
Once was all it took, and then I wasn't bullied anymore. So, and throughout that, I was a very timid, very geeky kid, and I gained confidence, and I became better at talking to people and meeting people eye to eye, and it really
raised your self-esteem.
It changed who I was.
And where did you grow up?
I grew up in Spokane, Washington.
Okay.
Yeah. I was up there for 25 years, and then I moved to Seattle for a little while, and then I moved down here in 2006.
Why?
I came down here actually to to work for a friend. It was right after a divorce. I didn't want to be in Washington anymore.
I see.
Yeah, and I needed a new start. My buddy owned a company in Dallas, so I went down and worked for him there. And then it was a contract company. It's actually the company I work for again now. But When his contract was up in Dallas and they moved down here, I loved Dallas and I didn't want to leave. And so I kind of went back to what I knew already. I had already been in law enforcement and corrections up in Washington. I knew how to protect people. And so I started protecting people in Dallas, and I was a bodyguard for 13 years.
Okay. So you've used your techniques that you've learned.
Quite a bit.
Gained confidence.
Yes.
And so you opened up Junkyard Fitness and Fighting Arts in October of 2021. So
Yes.
that's just recently.
Yes, I just opened. I was supposed to open in July. We had some landlord issues, and so I opened in October.
And this is in Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
So you're also talking about how you do other things too. So you're waiting for the business to be able to take care of itself,
Yes. Yeah.
but the facility is still open. Do you employ people there?
It's just me.
Just you?
Yeah. Eventually,
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. Eventually, I want to have employees, but I got to grow first.
Sure enough. So tell me a little bit about what you offer there.
So in the morning, I offer a kickboxing class, which it's not your typical cardio kickboxing, title kickboxing type class. There, they just cheer you on while you punch a bag. They don't really help you with technique or anything like that. You will learn to actually kickbox in my class in the mornings. And it's actually, as far as cardiovascular challenge, harder than your title kickboxing class.
What ages? Any?
Whatever age you want to bring in.
Okay.
Yeah. Most of the time, kids don't come in the morning because it's 7 a.m.
School.
It's usually school, yeah.
Right.
But if you're old enough to come in, come on in.
So was that one-on-one?
It's a group class, but
Okay.
I'm very good at flowing with the class. I owned a gym up in Dallas, and I coached up there for 15 years. I've had classes as big as 60, 70 people, and I can flow through a class really well. So you do get instruction from me. I know what you're doing. I don't ignore you. You'll learn from me.
It's visual. You can see them. You can see
Yeah.
if they're struggling or what
Yeah,
it
and I've been
is.
doing this a long time.
So I took boxing once. I was supposed to be in a competition against another nonprofit. It was kind of crazy. It was back when I was at the Montgomery County Food Bank. But there was some kickboxing and then there were some hits involved. This is just kicking?
This is kick and punch.
Both.
Yeah.
And there's a whole style to it. You have to learn how to do all the moves correctly so you don't hurt
Yes.
yourself as
Yes.
well,
Yeah.
right? And how you hit. And
Yeah. You can break your hand very easily. You got to think your hand is just 4 pencils, and pencils break really easily. And so if you hit on the outside of your hand, you're going to break that pencil, and it's called a boxer's break for a reason. I teach how to structure your fist correctly. I teach how to turn it over correctly so you don't break your hands. I've broken mine before. It's not fun. So I went through and learned how to structure everything correctly, teach everybody correctly.
so they learn the right way to do it while protecting themselves.
Yeah.
So you have different classes that you offer. What are some of those classes?
So at 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock, I have my Turbo Tots classes, which are kids' classes. And anybody, I usually say 7 and up because that's where the bones in the hand are developed enough that I'm not going to cause growth issues. It happens. What happens a lot of times with all the tarsals and the metatarsals, they're not fully developed until you're 7. So if you're causing a lot of trauma in that wrist from punching stuff, it's not going to develop correctly, and you get the kids that
So
have
you
kind of...
discourage it.
I discourage it. I will check their bones in their hands.
Interesting.
It's pretty easy to feel.
So have you taken any classes on the physiology of
Yeah, so...
and anatomy of bodies and
Yeah,
all
so
of
I've
that?
taken kinesiology. I'm a master trainer. And then on top of that, in the state of Washington, it's weird. Down here to be a boxing coach, MMA coach, you hand them $25, they hand you a license. Here,
So you don't have to be educated.
right, in Washington I did. So I had to take a course in Washington to be a coach. So I took that course.
Right. Well, your education follows you wherever you are.
Right. And then, since then, I all I do is take classes. I want to learn as much as I can about the human body, how it works, how to build someone correctly. And so that's what I do.
So, we've spoke a little bit recently, and you were telling me that your place is different than other places in the community.
Yes.
So it sounds like that's one of the reasons that you are very well trained and educated.
Yeah, I don't just teach them to punch and kick. I teach them how to move their body correctly, how to eat correctly, how to periodize their workouts. Most people just think I need to make it harder and harder and harder and harder, but it's really supposed to be peaks and valleys. You know, you get as intense as you can possibly go, then you back it off a little bit. And every time your valley's a little bit higher and your peak's a little bit higher, so that you continuously get better, but you don't overtrain your body.
It's a gradual increase.
Right.
A little at a time.
Yep.
And you, I assume, walk with them and partner with them so they know when to bring it up a notch.
Yep. Yeah.
Or when to take it down.
Yeah, and we discuss that. We talk about it. I have a kid that's in here now. The kid is obsessed. He comes in the morning and at night, every single day. And
Wow.
Yeah, he's 19 years old. He's just, this is what he wants to do. But we've had
Why?
talks.
What gets them so excited?
There's nothing that is cooler than the physical chess of MMA. Once you get in there and you realize how many techniques there are, how many ways you can mix the striking, the wrestling, and the grappling in, it's just, it's a puzzle that you have to continuously solve, and it's always evolving. And it makes you want to do it more. And we have this kind of built into our DNA. We evolved through fighting. That's where our fist ball's up the way it does. It's from human evolution. If you look at a pencil and call that evolution, civilization is only the lead. All the rest of the evolution is the rest of that pencil, and we had to fight our way through that evolution. So we're so hardwired to fight. It's why when you get mad, you clench your jaw and you roll up your fists. You're ready to
Interesting.
fight. So it just tickles your brain. And the more you learn about it, the better you get at it, the more you want to do it. And it's addicting.
So you don't encourage fighting per se, but
No.
this is more for the person's well-being and raising their confidence in how they can conquer their fears,
Absolutely.
kind of thing.
I'm a big believer in you should do something hard every day. Every single day you should do something
new,
that sucks.
something difficult, something that's beyond your comfort zone.
Yep. And when you're in my class, every day is hard. That's the way it's supposed to be.
What challenges have you had?
Whew, man, challenges. Okay, well,
So many.
yeah. My divorce sucked. My ex-wife got hooked on meth, and that was rough. I moved down to Dallas with nobody. I moved alone. And I moved with what I could fit in the trunk of a 99 Chevy Cavalier. And I built everything I had from then on. It was rough. It
So
was
starting
very
a business is rough too.
Yeah, this is my third business to start. You know, the gym up in Dallas, we ended up shutting down just because we were trying to expand, and landlord didn't want us to expand, and things got too expensive.
Just
so we
wasn't right.
Yeah.
Not a good fit. Okay.
Yeah. And then the second gym, I was a partner in, and I was a head coach, and then COVID hit. So
you came down here, and why Montgomery?
So the friend that had the business that I worked for up in Dallas when I moved to Texas has the business down here now. We work with the Energy Solutions program, and we insulate homes, and we do it for a reduced price. I was tired of protecting rich assholes. And so I was talking with him one day when I was visiting down here, and he was like, well, I want to expand my company. Why don't you come on down, work with me again, we'll expand. So January 1st, 2020, I pulled the trigger and came down here, and then COVID hit. And so,
Sure. That's challenging.
yeah. So that's been a challenge as well. Trying to expand a company through COVID has been very rough.
You've got to be strong. You got to
Yeah.
be strong in so many different ways. You know, you have to learn to adapt.
Yep.
And go with whatever's happening and how you can make your business work,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So this is a contact sport. So tell me how that works with all the COVID stuff going on.
So we really haven't had a whole lot of issue with people worried about COVID coming in, but I do sanitize absolutely everything when I'm in, before and after classes. One of the beauties of the other job I do is during a trade show, I learned about a disinfectant called Shockwave, which is something they use in hospitals that kills everything. It kills MRSA, COVID. If it'll hurt you, it kills it. And we use that every single day, spray everything down with it. The other piece of it is it has been shown and proven, the fitter you are, the easier you get over COVID. So if I have people in eating well, getting cardiovascularly healthy, building their muscle endurance, they're already going to have,
They're building up their immunity.
they're already going to have
More
a
effectively.
leg up getting over it.
Okay. So you have ongoing classes then. You said you start with the kickboxing in the morning.
Kickboxing in the morning, kids classes at 5 and 6, beginners MMA at 7, intermediate at 8, and then fighters class at 9.
You're a busy guy.
Yeah, I work
Every
about
day's
14 hours a
busy,
day.
right?
Yeah.
Wow. So what are you hoping to achieve? Where are your goals at? What do you want to do?
I want to help people. I believe that everybody should have what I teach. It builds confidence. It prevents bullies on both sides of it. I weaponize the victim, and if they're the aggressor, we've had kids come in that were quote-unquote bullies, and when you realize that the kid over there with the big ears and the glasses can whoop you because he's been in here for a year, it stops you from being a bully because all of a sudden you don't know who your victims are. And it helps them find common ground as well.
Do you also have self-defense women's classes?
So I've started offering women's self-defense classes. I have another company called Innovative Threat Management where I teach women's self-defense. I was teaching it to bars and restaurants and everything up in Dallas, and I also taught some police departments.
That's interesting. Bars and restaurants.
Yep. The servers need it. That's one of the most dangerous
Well,
trades there
because
is.
they stay after hours?
They stay
or
after
why?
hours, but also you got a lot of guys getting really drunk looking at pretty girls. And that we
So
had...
they can defend themselves. But is that appropriate in that environment? You know, I mean, are you allowed to be physical?
It's necessary and needed in that environment. The standard phrase is you need to know as much or as little force is necessary to eliminate the threat. And with these women who are walking to their cars alone after work, we had a situation in Dallas where a girl who worked at one of the local bars was followed home by a guy that she had turned down at the bar, and he broke into her house and slashed her throat.
Oh, my.
And that's what got me a lot of business. So it sucked, but it started people thinking about, oh, wow, this is a very high vulnerability trade. Another one is realtors. Realtors are in a house, an empty house alone with people. You don't know what they're going to do. You need to be able to determine that it's a threat. Then you need to react to the threat, eliminate the threat, and get away from the threat. And that's what I teach. And the beauty of it is it all kind of mixes together because MMA teaches you how to deal with somebody who's got you down on the ground and is trying to hold you there. It teaches you how to deal with somebody who's pushed you up against a wall. And those are two big things that attackers do. Every attack is an ambush. You're already losing. So you need to learn how to make a predator-prey reversal and become the one on the offensive. And I think everybody should know that, but especially women.
Well, they need to be more observant and
Yeah.
aware
Yes.
as well. You can't be walking out of a building to your car and on your phone. You need to be
Right.
vigilant.
And I teach people games,
Okay,
awareness
what does that
games. So, what's your favorite car?
My Mini Cooper, of course.
Your Mini Cooper? Okay, find as many as you can in every parking lot you're in. Now what you're doing is you're checking off the Mini Coopers, but you're also checking off the ones that aren't Mini Coopers. So now you're looking at those cars, seeing if there's a driver in it, seeing
You're
if it's...
adding more detail.
There you go.
Sure.
Favorite designer? When you're walking down the street, find every single purse
Same,
that's your
same.
favorite purse. Yeah.
Mhm.
Look everybody in the eye. Every
You're
single
just
person.
increasing your attention to detail.
Exactly. One of the
And
things
I'm sure
I,
officers, law enforcement do this all the time. They always know where the back door is.
yeah, we always call it using the elevator. I go
Right.
from top to bottom and back
Yeah.
to top. When I was in college, my capstone, my final paper was on rapists. At the time, I was working for corrections, and so I had unlimited access to offenders. So I interviewed something like 25 rapists and discussed with them what they look for in a victim. And so I built that into my structure for, okay, well, this is what they're looking for, so let's not do this. Let's not wear the purse strap across our body. Yeah, it seems like that's more safe because then they can't get it off of you, but it's a handle for them to grab onto you and pull you wherever they want to take you. Leave it on your shoulder, let it go. Nothing in your purse is worth your life. Another one is always make eye contact. One of the things predators don't like is if you make eye contact with them, because then now you could possibly identify them in a lineup. Stuff like that. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you teach all of this in your classes as well?
Yep, I do.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I'm wanting to start a free women's self-defense class every Saturday. I've been kind of putting feelers out there to find out what the best time is, and I've gotten times all over the board. So I'm kind of trying to figure out where the most effective time slot would be. But I think that it's important enough that these women know this that I will do it for free.
What about seniors? Do you think seniors are one of them that people attack readily?
Absolutely. And I had a fairly significant senior class at my old gym that I taught. I think everybody should learn it. I don't care how old you are. I'll teach anybody 9 to 90. It doesn't matter.
Seems like a good thing for senior centers or places where seniors congregate as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's little small things you can teach them that, once you're past the point where you can hold yourself up very well or have the strength to move quickly, you can still be dangerous to an attacker in other various ways. And I can teach that.
So would you say most of this is by understanding and being aware of your surroundings, being attentive, or do you need to have a device on you to stop your attacker?
I think it's a little bit of both. Awareness is number one. Awareness and avoidance. But at the same time, there are devices that do work, and there's devices that don't work.
What doesn't work?
Pepper spray,
Really?
tasers.
Why?
So pepper spray only works from 8 to 18 feet. So if your attacker's already ambushed you and he's in your face, you're spraying yourself as much as him. It's also nitrogen propelled, and it's made from oleoresin capsicum, the capsicum pepper, which means it's perishable. So if you're past
Doesn't last forever.
if you're past your expiration date, you got some problems.
Yeah.
How many people check their expiration date? Same thing with tasers. They're a battery. How many people check the battery on their taser?
So what's the best thing to do?
I recommend Kubotons.
What is that?
They're literally translated pain stick. They're about yay big. They're a little metal stick. You have a key. They have a keychain on it. You have your keys in your hand. Hold it like this. It packs your fist, so it's harder to break your fist if you punch. But it sticks out the bottom of your hand, and you can start pounding on people with it. It's hard. It causes pain, and it helps you get out of difficult situations. I
So
recommend
for both
those.
men and women?
Absolutely. Yep. I always have a jar of them at my office, and if someone starts talking about, well, I'm afraid of this, or I'm afraid of that, well, here. And then I kind of run them through a basic of this is how you can use it. It's very simple to use.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you're passionate about this, and you're
This is my
passionate
calling.
because you've been down this road. And
Yeah, so while I was a bodyguard, the last 6 years I was the bodyguard for Chief General Counsel for a hedge fund, and pretty much everybody hated him, so dealing with that was an issue. But before that, for 5 years before that, or 6 years before that, I was the bodyguard for a guy who owned 17 bars in Dallas, and I was also the head of security for all of his bars. So I have been in it, I have used it, I have taught people to use it and watched them use it. I know what works and what doesn't from empirical evidence.
So let's contrast other places around here. It's the education and what else that
teach
sets
everything.
you apart.
I teach everything. I don't teach one style. I don't teach just groundwork or just stand-up. I teach it all. There are a lot of people who water down their styles around here to make it more palatable for parents or for people who are worried about contact or bullying or stuff like that. I don't water anything down. We can back off the contact, but you're going to learn what works, not what's fun and looks cool. what you find out is doing it the right way is more fun anyway. And even the people that
So you're about technique.
I'm very much about technique, because if you
Okay.
do it incorrectly, it's not going to work. And I have seen what happens when people do it incorrectly in a situation where they're supposed to be saving their life and they don't. And I refuse.
So it's
to let that
detrimental all
happen.
the way around.
Oh man, it's horrible. And so I'm not trying to dig on any particular classes or whatever, but some of the big box kickboxing gyms and the heavy,
There's a different way to do
yeah,
it.
I call them
that's
the
all.
heavy bag gyms, where there's just a bunch of people punching on heavy bags, and you've got an aerobics instructor out front cheering them on and not correcting technique. And then I see all these posts about, oh yeah, I'm learning to kick ass, and I've got this and I've got that, and I'm a kickboxer now. And no, you're not. You know how to barely kick a heavy bag. You don't know the technique. And then if you get attacked on the street, you will freak out. You have not been inoculated with stress. You do not know how to deal with it. You're going to have an adrenaline dump. You're not going to know how to weaponize and control that adrenaline dump, and you're going to get hurt. And I've seen it happen, and it's not something I really want to see happen ever again.
So you would like to get this out
Oh, absolutely.
any way you can.
Yep.
And it isn't just about you. It's sounding like it's more about something that you have a gift to share with and you want people to know.
I'm pretty passionate about helping others.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous. So do you do any kind of events or anything?
So events are difficult, especially in a COVID world.
Sure.
There are kickboxing tournaments, grappling tournaments, and then, there's amateur and professional MMA fights. I do take people to those. I've actually had some of my students end up in Bellator on Dana White's Contender Series. So we've been up to the larger promotions.
That's kind of on hold right now? Is that how that works?
It
In
is
your
and it
world?
isn't. So I have two of my former students from Dallas that are coming down every couple of weekends to work with me, getting ready for some fights. It's hard
Okay.
to train with them when they're 3 or 4 hours away.
So it's personal training you're still doing
Mm-hmm.
with different people that have engaged your services in the past.
Yes.
And so you don't necessarily have events yourself at
It's
your
very difficult
place,
to do them at your place.
in your venue. But maybe you might be interested in going to other events, and participate to show
Yes.
people what's important.
So I can do seminars and demonstrations at my gym or at other people's places. But as far as fights, you have to be sanctioned by the
Sure.
TDLR. And so I'm not doing that. That's expensive and it's dangerous, and you end up having a whole lot of
So mostly you
issues.
just want to educate people and have your classes at this point.
I educate them, I teach them, and we do train with an eye on competition, but our competition is elsewhere.
Okay. Okay. So let's talk about how people can get engaged with you.
Okay. My website is www.junkyardfightfit.com.
Junkyard,
Yes.
Fitness and Fighting Arts.
There you go. I do have a Facebook page, Junkyard Fitness and Fighting Arts. Mm-hmm. I have an Instagram, Junkyard Fight Fit. And then they can reach me by phone. Phone number's on the website and the Facebook page. Email, same thing. Or they can just come in. I'm about a mile south of 105 on 149. There's a business park on the left side of the road, right before the railroad tracks. It's 21360 Shannon Circle. And it's a big
You're
building.
available.
Yeah, big building with a big sign. So
So if somebody wanted to reach out to you to be a part of an event they had, to just talk a little bit about it, or
Yeah.
speaking engagements or anything like that,
I'm more than
is
willing.
that something you'd like to do?
Absolutely. I just had a lady reach out to me to do a self-defense kind of seminar and talk for some 7th graders.
Wow.
So, yeah, I'm going to go do that. So, it's a
Sounds
start.
fabulous.
Yeah,
Well, I'm excited to hear from you. I can tell you are very passionate about this.
I love this.
And you're a member of the Montgomery Area Chamber of Commerce
I
as
am.
well. And that's a good way to get connected with people. And it's Junkyard Fitness and Fighting Arts.
Yep.
And you can Google that, pretty easily. You can find it on Facebook. You can go to the chamber and see his listing. And Coach Brandon Crick is very excited to help you out.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much, Brandon. I appreciate you coming out here and recording this and sharing your knowledge.
Thank you.
And hopefully more people will get engaged with what you have to offer, your skill set, and protect themselves.
That's my hope.
Since 2004, Roger Stein Chiropractic has offered spine and joint manipulation services to residents of Montgomery County and surrounding areas. Conditions treated include lower back pain, migraines, headaches, whiplash, carpal tunnel, neck pain, sciatica, joint pain, sports injuries, herniated discs, and complications from pregnancy. Roger Stein Chiropractic, led by Dr. Stacy Rogers and Dr. Brian McGee, is an integrity-verified chiropractic clinic. Call 936-441-9990 for an appointment, or visit rogerssteinchiropractic.com. That's RODGERSSTEIN chiropractic.com.
Team Sinisi is a proud sponsor of Conroe Culture News. Vinny Sinisi and his professional team provide comprehensive real estate services throughout the greater Montgomery County area and beyond. Whether looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, Team Sinisi has an impeccable reputation. Contact Team Sinisi for a great experience at teamsinisi.com. That's TEAMSINISI.com.
Hello, so I am Margie Taylor, and I am sitting with Echo Hutson. She is an assistant district attorney at Montgomery County District Attorney's Office, working with violence against women. She's also, and this takes up a lot of her time lately, also a candidate for a judge of County Court of Law 4. Yes. So welcome, Echo.
Thank you so much for having me, Margie.
Of course. I know this is a busy time for you. I mean, you're working, you're a mom, you're a wife, and you're also a candidate.
Yes.
So I just want people to know a little bit about you, what your background is, your education, and what your role would be, because some people don't really understand what County Court of Law 4 is exactly.
Yeah, I think that's pretty common. Yeah.
Of course. I mean, because there's 6, right? There's going to be 6.
Right.
And what's the difference?
Right.
So tell me a little bit about your background.
Okay, so my undergraduate degree was in justice, minored in philosophy, honored in statistical analysis of all things. And
Ew.
so, who knew that I would like statistics, but I really do actually.
Do you? Okay.
I didn't expect that. So I went to law school in 2005 to 2008, graduated, came to Texas, started prosecuting right away. And then came to Montgomery County in 2009. Brett Ligon had just been elected the Montgomery County District Attorney, so started then. In 2011, as part of that office, I wrote a grant for funding for the first specialized domestic violence prosecutor in the county. Worked as that prosecutor for a couple years, started the domestic violence division. That kind of became my specialty in the area of criminal law. So we started the domestic violence court at that time in 2011. It's been running for 10 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's become really,
I bet it's
really
busy.
successful.
Is it pretty busy?
Yeah, and it doesn't slow down. And COVID didn't slow anything down. It ramped up another 20% on average, and it hasn't gone back down, unfortunately. Yeah, so I'm currently the chief prosecutor of the domestic violence division, still at the DA's office. I've done a little bit in the middle there. I went out on my own for a couple years, took a break when my youngest was born, and did some criminal defense, some family law, a little bit of civil, and then Brett asked me to come back in 2016, and I did, went back into the DEA's office and the domestic violence division, so here I am. Now, it's important for that background, I guess, because County Court 4 is a criminal court. It's misdemeanors. It is general criminal by agreement of the judges, but then it also holds that special domestic violence docket that I've been working from the prosecution side for the most part of that court's existence. So I'm only running for office because of that court, and County Court 4 is pretty special.
And you have a real passion for this as well.
I do. It's really become, when we started, it was a need that needed to be filled in the community, something we hadn't done yet. Montgomery County courts were not specialized at that time. This docket was actually the first one that I think we got the agreement of the judges to specialize. And from there, it was kind of a continuing thing that we started to see how effective that can be. So we kind of changed the face of how the courts organize themselves. But it's also become something that's much bigger than just, we need to do this. There's the gap to be filled, and it's become something that's really important to victims in Montgomery County. It's really important to a lot of our citizens to see that we're addressing domestic violence so directly. It's a special topic. I think, it's one of those that tends to be not political. It tends to be across the board that everyone agrees domestic violence and how we handle it is a need for our community.
So you work with women, you work with men, because I'm sure men are involved in this, and people don't realize that, but men can be abused.
Absolutely.
And kids, do you ever work with kids?
So we do. We work with them in a couple ways. And, of course, child crimes, there's a separate division under the same umbrella. So we work, I'm in the Special Victims Unit at the DA's office. So we have
Sounds like a TV show.
It is. It is. We decided to call ourselves that a couple years ago. We have internet crimes against children. We have physical crimes against children. So what I do is I partner with those other prosecutors in that specialized umbrella division. But my particular domestic violence division, we deal with adult victims, intimate partner, and then we take child victim cases that are out of the same type of transaction. So if an abuser is charged with assaulting his intimate partner, but then the children are part of that, then yes, we will take those cases, absolutely.
As long as it's related to that unit.
Yes, absolutely.
Interesting. So you've kind of talked to me a little bit about why you're running as a candidate. Now, do you have an opponent?
I do.
You do?
Yes.
I have not seen that opponent. That's why I'm asking.
Yes.
I know that person exists.
Yes.
So why do you think you are the most qualified candidate?
So
sounds like a lot of reasons.
It is, and it's really, it comes down to this court. There's 6 county courts, like you said, and each one has kind of a special part in Montgomery County, and this court is domestic violence. And so with my background, with what I do, I'm the only person that has worked this court from the inside out. I help develop the policies. I help develop the court schedule. I help develop the docket. I help develop the processes that we use and the underlying. So we offer certain courses in order for even a case to be dismissed. If we can't prove a case, we try to ask for batterers intervention prevention counseling. And so those types of programs that we've implemented are not something you can just step into and do. You have to understand the why.
You've been a part of it from the beginning.
Absolutely. And so it
You've
really
been very
is
intimate with the whole process.
Yes, absolutely. And so there's really no one else that can say that. There's no one else that can say that. So
does it seem a little overwhelming at times to be a judge? I mean, what does that look like to you?
It does in the way of, I'm currently an advocate. And I get to be loud and outspoken, and I get to, I get to go in the media if I want to. And I guess, just my personality, I actually like to fly under the radar. So running for office has been a switch for me.
Yes.
And kind of putting myself out there and talking about all of these things I've just been doing for so long.
It's hard to talk about yourself, too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard to get into the
because when you advocate for someone else, that's a whole different role.
Absolutely, and the focus is on them, and so you can just be that voice. And so, yeah, it's been a very different switch. But I will say, after election, judges are expected to be fair and impartial and balanced and not advocates. And so it will kind of be nice to go into a role like that where I can kind of sit back a little bit again and get out of the spotlight. So I think I'm looking forward to that.
They can't, go out in the media as much because they need to be unbiased.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
They need to have that temperament that is very low profile, decisive, and reflective, that kind of thing. Not a volatile kind of demeanor.
Right, and we don't want to go out and start stirring up, a lot of talk and discussion about cases that are not meant to be, right?
Yeah. Right, pending things. You can't talk about
Correct.
those things because
Right.
you need to be fair.
Absolutely.
And impartial.
Yeah.
Right? The
Yep.
judge. That's what I see.
So I'm kind of looking forward to that part.
Okay. So I know you've been working hard on this. When did you decide that this was going to happen, that you were going to be a candidate?
So I think the final decision was made in June of 2020. I knew that Judge Marianne Turner was retiring. She's the judge of County Court 4. She had been pretty open about it for, I don't know, months before that. And then, of course, the talk around the courthouse started with who's running and who's not. And people kept coming up to me and they're like, oh, you're running for DV court, right? And I was like, no, I am not running for politics. No, thank you, And so after a while, I kept getting that question. So I went home, sat down with my husband, and I said, man,
And he's very supportive of you as well.
Oh, he is my rock and he is my study. He is amazing. But I sat down with him, and he's always my sounding board. And so I said, I don't want to be in politics. Montgomery County is a tough place to be in politics.
It is.
It's very tough. And I'm not sure that's really something I want to do. And he said, well, let's talk about what you would run for. This is your court. This is what you've done. And do you really want someone else that doesn't know what you've done to step in there and risk losing the success you've created in that court? And man, that hit home.
I'm sure.
And so he
'Cause
just
it's yours.
Yes. And he broke down all of those fears of, my family being out in the world and the pressures and the time and everything that it takes. And he said, everything you do with a purpose. And when you decide to do it, you don't do it half-heartedly. And he said, you make the decision to do this and you run with it, and we've got your back. And so that was kind of the final conversation. And I said, you know what? All right, let's do this. And then that's kind of where we went. But it took me about 3 months to get there. It was a big, long,
it's
careful
not
decision.
an easy decision.
Absolutely.
Because basically the family's running,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and they're
And it takes
with
a lot
you.
of time.
Yeah.
And it takes money.
Yes.
And you have to fundraise
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
Do you have any events coming up?
So
Soon?
I have some private events, some meet and greets that people are hosting. The Defense Bar has put out a meet and greet for me, so that's kind of just like some of the circles that want me to be
More
introduced.
people to see you, hear you, understand.
We're maybe talking about, so February 7th happens to be my birthday, so we're talking about maybe doing a final fundraiser birthday bash about a week before early elections start. So
Share the love with Echo.
That's right, right. Yeah. Echo's birthday extravaganza maybe or something.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
I can see the hearts and all that.
Something.
I can just kind of visualize the
Pretty
whole
close,
thing.
yeah.
Yes. So this is a new court. See, it's not like you really want to see things done differently. You've been a part of this for
Right.
a period of time,
Right.
and it totally makes sense why you would want to continue on course
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
And this is your passion. And, without having anybody visibly out there going against what you're saying, I can see this being very successful for
Thank
you,
you.
a very successful journey.
Thank you.
And, I'm excited for you. I think this is going to be a great opportunity to make some positive impact in the community.
Thank you.
With especially people that need it the most.
Yeah.
And everybody has heard, well, I don't know about everybody, but it's been out in the community that because of the closures and COVID and all that, there's been more domestic violence.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So the studies have been nationally a general increase, and it kind of depends on where you go to see that. Across the state of Texas, I think the Texas Council on Family Violence came back with their report last year. There's a generalized increase, and in 2021, it didn't seem to go down. There's also studies that talk about when there's a natural disaster or when there's an increased stress on society in general, domestic violence will often spike very, very quickly. But then for it to go back down, it takes a lot longer. So that bell curve is really high, and then it just very slowly tapers off. So we're still in the throes of that. And I think with everything going on in our society, I think even with the Omicron variant that's come out and the Delta variant, I think all of those stressors have continued for domestic violence victims, unfortunately. And when we talk about...
Well, it's unpredictable.
Absolutely.
People don't know
Yes.
what the status is,
Yes.
what's coming out
Yes.
behind us.
And people have
what's
lost
the future
their jobs. And
look
that-
like?
Yes.
And
that
you're
creates
still with the
stress.
same family that's had stress. And if you don't take care of whatever the issue is that's bringing on the stress, it's
Yes.
going to keep building up.
Yes, absolutely. And so in Montgomery County, we saw an average 20% increase from March of 2020 when the initial lockdowns started happening. Some months it was as much as a 50% increase. I ran the stats again for October of 2021, which was Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we have continued to see an average of 20% increase. So it's not gone down. Part of that may be the increase in population in our county, but really it's so closely connected because, our population's been increasing for 10 years or more. And so I think that it's a direct correlation to everything that's been going on with COVID lockdown. So when that happened, my division, we ramped up. We started working 24/7 to respond to victims. I've been on call for 2.5 years now to law enforcement, 24/7 for domestic violence calls. They call me in the middle of the night and they're out on scene with a victim, especially strangulation cases. Those are some of our highest lethality cases where we're most likely to end up in a homicide. And so they'll call me, they'll run the case down to me, they'll make sure if we can get the victim in we have a 24/7 nurse examiner for some of the most severe injuries, and I will get them an advocate out to respond to either the hospital or to call them on scene.
The
and
sooner
talk
the
to them.
better.
Absolutely. That's the only statistic we have where victims tend to stay alive is when we get them into advocacy services right away. So what we've done is we've created a high-risk team. It's called the DV Alert Team. And we've also created a program with the Women's Center, Montgomery County Women's Center, that we have a DV co-op where we have a co-located, so they come to our office and office with us, advocate. And so we want to make sure that those services are 24/7 available. So when EMS is out on scene and they need an advocate, they know to come and call this number and get a hold of somebody. And those types of programs that we've done, we ramped those up during COVID lockdown because nobody was able to go out and get in the homes because of, all the protocols and things. And so we really had to reconfigure how we were doing that program.
How you respond.
Absolutely. And it was more important than ever because it seems like the violence increased as much as the volume, which is scary. In Montgomery County, the majority of homicides are domestic violence, and they are intimate partners. I think the last statistic that Brett put out was that it's above 70%. So what we're looking at is escalating, repeating violence with intimate partner situations. And when you add that increased stress and everything, it's just like a pressure cooker.
How do you intervene before it gets to that point and escalates?
That's the hard part, right, is reaching somebody who has been isolated, who has, is in the throes of a domestic violence situation. They are trauma victims, and so they're not making decisions on the same
And they might be
playing
complacent about it as well,
field.
right?
Yes, they may have accepted their situation.
Excuse
right?
it.
Yes, yes. And, emotional attachment to a batterer, that's a very real thing. And having children where you can't really just pick up and leave and you don't want to take those children away from their parent or you don't want to break up a home, marriage is hard work. Everyone says that, right? And if we can figure this out and if we can work through our issues, then it's going to be better. And I think a lot of people, that's really why they stay. They want to fix their person that they love, and they want their relationship to be better. And so what we want to do with that is give them skills, give them education, give them opportunity, because domestic violence is also a cycle. And so children who are raised in abusive relationships don't understand what a toxic relationship looks like, and they get into their own toxic relationships. You know, it's a 90%
It's what they're used
cycle.
to.
Right.
Sure.
And so they've never learned the tools to de-escalate without violence. They've never learned how to have a healthy relationship. So part of what we do is we collaborate with advocacy organizations to educate in the schools, to educate in the community, if we can reach anybody with how to, you know, move past an unhealthy relationship, or to hopefully solve it before it becomes violent. That's a huge part of what we do. It's being proactive before there's a criminal case.
So offering out the education in the community. And then also telling people maybe where they can go to get some counseling.
Yes.
You know, before they have to call 911.
Yes, absolutely. If there's never a criminal case, if there's never a 911 call, that's the best case scenario, right? That would be the most wonderful thing.
So what organizations can help people?
So I think in Montgomery County, we are so fortunate. Other counties, I know Harris County, there's probably 6 different women's advocacy organizations for shelter. In Montgomery County, we've been able to use just the one main that covers the entire county. It's the Montgomery County Women's Center. They have a 24-hour emergency hotline. They have an undisclosed shelter location for those who are in immediate crisis. They have a short-term shelter at a different location over on Airport Road, where you can children can come with mom. Or we have, at that location, we have for men who are trying to get shelter from an abusive relationship.
And that
facility.
happens.
Yes.
I know
Yes.
of one incident where it happened.
Yes, absolutely. I think our cases, when they come in, it's about 15 to 20% male victims.
And it's hard for them.
Yes, yes. And, you know, we have people in same-sex relationships as well, and that's a high risk factor for domestic violence, actually. And so, you know, we have to be able to serve all of those people in this county. Yeah.
Period.
So, and then there's the long-term shelter where it's actually an apartment complex that is a secure facility, but that's also at the Women's Center. It's called Reaching Pines. They can stay there up to a year, and they have an increasing rate of rent, so they start to learn how to be financially responsible. And they help with all of the job skills and things that someone might need if they've been out of the workforce, or maybe never entered the workforce, became a stay-at-home mom very young, or something, never had the opportunity to go to school.
Gives them all the resources
Absolutely.
and education to
Yes.
be
Have
self-sustaining
vocation.
on
Yes.
their own.
Yeah.
So this is all really, truly interesting. We could probably talk for an
Forever.
hour or longer,
Yeah.
because there's so many different ways to go.
Yeah.
But let's narrow it into how can someone get in touch with you? Your website, your Facebook, or anything else?
Absolutely. So my call sign, I guess, is Elect Echo. It's pretty easy. So www.electecho.com. If you go to
ECHO.
ECHO, just yes, the real Echo. And I'll be the only Echo on the ballot, so I'll be easy to find.
How many other echoes have you ever run across?
I've only met one. Only met
Interesting.
one in college, yes. Happened to be the polar opposite of me, but that's fine. Everyone defines themselves. But yes, so not very many echoes out there. But yes, so you can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/electecho.
Or they can reach out to you when they see you out in the community.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of things going on right
Yes,
now
lots
on the
of
campaign
candidate
trail,
forums.
right?
Yes, and I'm posting on my Facebook the candidate forums that are coming
Oh,
up.
perfect.
So you can go and you can look at the events coming up. I think we have, gosh, how many do we have?
Too many.
Yes,
I
7
check
to
it every
10
day,
more?
every
Yes,
week,
yes.
all the time,
Yes.
because they keep changing.
Yes.
Or others keep being added
Right,
on.
right.
It's just like,
Last
I don't
day
know.
to register to vote for the Republican primary is January 31st.
Mm-hmm.
First day of early voting is February 14th. And then the primary election is March 1st. It's coming
Okay.
up. Yep.
So elect Echo.
Elect Echo.
Elect Echo. Echo Hutson.
Echo Hutson.
So she's very qualified, and talk to her. See what she's all about.
Yeah, please do. I welcome it. I like talking to people about what I do.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Echo.
Thank you so much for your time, Margie. I so appreciate it.